That particular day, fatigue seemed to have taken a heavy toll on me. After tucking my daughter Nia into her crib, I collapsed onto my own bed and slipped into sleep almost instantly. Sometime later, I jolted awake to the sound of Nicholas crying in the dead of night. Still half asleep, I glanced at my mobile phone. 1 o'clock a.m., thankfully. I managed to snatch a brief nap earlier. Summoning what energy I had left, I dragged myself up, intending to comfort Nia in the living room. Just then, a sharp voice pierced the silence. "Shut up. Be quiet." Momentarily disoriented, I couldn't pinpoint the source. Perhaps it was my mother-in-law Jamie, I reckoned, yelling from her room. "Yes, I'm coming to soothe her now," I mumbled, opening the living room door. To my shock, Jamie stood over the crib, glaring at Nia. Without a second thought, she struck Nia's face. "What are you doing?" I erupted, my voice resonating louder than ever. Jamie seemed taken aback for a fleeting moment. "Why didn't you soothe her sooner? This child is so noisy," she retorted, her voice tinged with panic. Rushing to shield Nia from Jamie's aggression, I couldn't fathom the situation. Hitting a baby? It was incomprehensible. My name is Candice, a 28-year-old housewife. Once an office worker, I now focus on household chores and childcare during my maternity leave. My husband, Miles, and I moved in with Jamie, my mother-in-law, about a year ago. With Miles frequently away due to his demanding job and his concern for leaving me alone during pregnancy, coupled with Jamie's solitude following my father-in-law's passing, we decided to live together. Initially, things went smoothly, but gradually, Jamie's true colors surfaced, and truth be told, I struggled. "Candy, you're awfully slow at housework, aren't you? Can't you prepare better meals?" Her criticisms echoed incessantly. I apologize for the confusion, but it seems like there are some repeated sentences and inconsistencies in the provided text. However, based on the available information, here's a revised version. I regret to say that Jamie consistently harassed me whenever an opportunity arose. While Willis, her husband, was still alive, I had no issues during visits to my in-laws' house, and I didn't particularly dislike Jamie at that time. However, after Willis passed away and we started living together, Jamie transformed into an unbearably selfish and rude presence in my life. "Hurry up with the housework. You're really useless, you know." She would insult me with remarks that went beyond the realm of household chores. As I was pregnant, it was only natural for me to be slower with tasks, but Jamie seemed indifferent to that reality. Her focus appeared to be on relentlessly harassing me, with Miles frequently away on business trips, returning home only around midnight, even when not traveling. I found myself spending most of my days with Jamie. I clung to the hope that things would change once the baby arrived. I believed that living with her grandchild would soften Jamie, despite her rough demeanor. Desperately holding onto that hope, I consulted Miles about it on WhatsApp, ensuring not to disrupt his work. He expressed genuine regret, wishing he could be there for me during tough times. He also took care to admonish Jamie when they met, providing me with a slight sense of relief. Having Miles on my side made it somewhat more bearable when Jamie scolded me for not handling housework well enough during pregnancy. Eventually, I safely gave birth to a healthy baby girl. Blessedly, Miles managed to obtain permission from his company, citing the birth of our child. He left work early and rushed to the hospital just before I gave birth. When he held our newborn daughter, he marveled at her angelic cuteness, expressing genuine happiness. I, too, felt joy in bringing into the world the child of the man I love. I informed Jamie about the birth of our healthy baby girl through WhatsApp, assuming she might visit the hospital since we shared a living space. To my surprise, Jamie didn't show up, and she didn't respond on WhatsApp. The concern arose. Could she be uninterested in her granddaughter? Anxiety crept in as I pondered whether the harassment would persist even in this new chapter. As I grappled with these thoughts, the hospital room door swung open. "Candice, how are you feeling?" "Wow, what a cute baby. It's a girl, right? She's going to be beautiful." It was my sister-in-law, La, who came to visit. La, kind and cheerful, had always been supportive. Married with children herself, I had decided to turn to her for parenting advice. "What's her name?" she inquired. Miles and I had chosen the name Nia. "Oh, that's a nice name. Wait, hasn't Mom come?" I explained that I had contacted Jamie, but received no response. La chuckled. "She's really a pain sometimes, isn't she? Unpredictable and lacking common sense." I agreed, appreciating La's straightforward nature. She had once encouraged me to vent to her about living with Jamie, understanding Jamie's difficult personality. La refrained from admonishing Jamie unless absolutely necessary, knowing it could backfire on me. Little did I know that life would become more challenging after Nicholas was born. Upon returning home from the hospital with Nicola, Jamie seemed to ignore the baby's existence entirely. Instead, she demanded, "Hurry up and clean." Stunned, I placed Nicola in her crib and began cleaning. Jamie, about 5 minutes later, started yelling, "Candy, come here." Perplexed, I approached, and Jamie complained about the baby's crying. "Do something about her," she insisted, referring to Nicola as that baby and treating her as a nuisance. Jamie's mistreatment continued, criticizing Nicola's cries and yelling derogatory remarks. Each time Jamie yelled, Nicola cried louder, creating an uncomfortable atmosphere. Frustrated, I implored, "Her name is Nicola. Can you please call her by her name?" "Shut up. Don't tell me what to do. You're her mother. It's your job to take care of her and make sure I'm comfortable," Jamie retorted. "Look, she's crying again." Nicola's cries had escalated due to Jamie's harsh words, creating a distressing environment for both the baby and me. After putting Nicola to bed, I had to halt my chores and attend to her soothing needs. Yet even this interruption incurred Jamie's displeasure. Upon returning to my chores after settling Nicola, Jamie exclaimed, "Ah, this is really in the way. Takes up so much space," as she kicked the crib. The crib shook, and Nicola woke up crying again. "What are you doing, Jamie? Shut up. It's your fault for insisting on putting such a big thing here," I retorted, exasperated. Yet it was Jamie who had suggested placing the bed in the living room to mitigate noise disturbances at night. "Are you complaining to me now? Stop arguing and soothe that noisy child," Jamie snapped, referring to Nicola in a derogatory manner. The situation felt untenable. Balancing household chores and childcare without incurring Jamie's wrath was proving increasingly challenging, and my exhaustion mounted. The constant criticism added to the strain. If I focused too much on childcare, I'd be scolded for being slow at housework, I lamented internally. And if I focus on chores, I'd be berated for my parenting, I added, feeling the weight of the conflicting expectations. With Miles away on a business trip for about 2 months, I felt the burden keenly. Attempts to seek solace and guidance from him over WhatsApp and phone calls were met with apologies and brief conversations. His apologies only added to my guilt, knowing he was working tirelessly for our family. Then, fatigue and stress reached a breaking point one night. Exhausted, I fell asleep soon after putting Nicola in her crib. In the wee hours, Nicola's cries roused me from slumber. Groggy, I checked my phone. 1 a.m., thankfully. I had managed a brief nap earlier. Summoning what little energy remained, I prepared to soothe Nicola in the living room. However, my efforts were interrupted by a commanding voice shouting, "Shut up, be quiet." Confused, I initially thought Jamie was berating me from her room. Resignedly, I responded, "Yes, I'm coming to soothe her now," and opened the living room door. To my shock, Jamie stood over the crib, glaring at Nicola. Without warning, she struck Nicola's face, prompting me to erupt in protest louder than ever before. Jamie seemed momentarily surprised by my outburst, caught off guard by the force of my reaction. "Why didn't you soothe her sooner? She's so noisy, this child." Jamie yelled back in a panic. Reacting swiftly, I rushed to the crib, lifting Nicola to shield her from Jamie's unwarranted aggression. The disbelief struck me hard. hitting a 3-month-old baby. Could this person really be human? Nicola's cries escalated to a pitch I had never heard before, and her tiny face had turned a shade of red that sent shivers down my spine. In immediate distress, I dialed an ambulance. At the hospital, the doctor examined Nicola and assured me that, while her face was red, there was no concern about bruises or injuries. A wave of relief washed over me, but I felt on the verge of collapsing. The doctor inquired, "What happened? Did you drop her on the floor or something?" I explained the situation to the doctor when my sister-in-law, entered the room. In my panic, I had called Illa while in the ambulance. Miles was on a business trip and couldn't come immediately, so I reached out to Illa despite the late hour. Illa described Jamie hitting Nicola to the doctor, leaving him speechless, and she herself shook with anger. The next day, I returned home with Illa, bracing myself for the confrontation. I entered the house alone, and Jamie, acting as if nothing happened, continued harassing me as usual. "You're late. Hurry up and make breakfast. You missed taking out the trash because you came home in the morning. You really can't do housework," she berated. Exasperated, I interjected, "Enough. Did you forget what happened yesterday? You hit a 3-month-old baby, remember? How can you act so normally? First, apologize for yesterday." Jamie's face reddened with anger. "What? Why should I apologize? That child was the noisy one. I just slapped her because she wouldn't listen. It's a part of discipline. I thought she wouldn't be quiet otherwise." "That's not discipline. It's violence." "Enough with the noise. Just do your chores already," I asserted, my voice firm. "You don't regret it at all. Don't even think you did anything wrong." I called for Lila to enter the living room. "Lila, please come in." Jamie was taken aback. "Mom, what are you doing? I can't believe you did such a thing." "No, that's, Jamie stammered, flustered by Layla's sudden arrival. "Mom, you do realize that what you did is legally punishable, right?" Layla pointed out, her tone stern. Jamie's face turned pale. "Lila, you're not going to sue your own mother, are you?" Jamie pleaded, attempting to downplay the severity of her actions. Lila corrected her. "The one who's going to sue is Candice. I'll just be her lawyer." But wait, it was just a part of her education. Who would agree that hitting a baby is education? "This is a case of assault," I asserted firmly. No matter how much Jamie tried to justify her actions, such behavior could never be excused. "I'll definitely sue you. Be prepared," I warned Jamie, determined to seek justice. At that moment, Jamie began to cry quietly. "I'm sorry, Candy. I'd always lose control when I get angry and end up regretting it later. I've always been depressed and regretful about how I treated you and Nia. I truly am sorry for what happened. Why did I raise my hand to her?" Jamie continued speaking through her tears, expressing remorse. "I'd always wanted a boy for the eldest grandson. It was also Willis's wish. Willis's wish. It might be an old-fashioned thought, but we always hoped for a boy to carry on the family line. And when a girl was born instead, I was happy about the birth of a granddaughter, but also felt like I failed to fulfill a promise to Willis. And every time I got angry, I couldn't control myself. I'm really sorry." "Jamie, please calm down. Let's talk properly first," I suggested, trying to diffuse the tension. However, Jamie persisted. "No, I've done something terrible. No amount of apologies will ever be enough." She kept apologizing repeatedly, and I felt my heart waver, almost considering forgiveness. But then Leela spoke up. "Don't take her seriously, Candy. Mom always pretends to be deeply remorseful like this when she's cornered, just to end criticism against her. She did the same when Dad found out about her affair. He forgave her because he fell for her act, but her tears dried up immediately afterward. This is probably just an act too, right? You can't fool me." Leela's astute observation made Jamie falter. "What are you saying, Lila?" I examined Jamie closely, realizing that the tears that were flowing heavily just a moment ago had already dried up. It was likely fake crying. "Jamie, I can't forgive you anymore. How twisted can you be to try to weasel out of what you've done? Wait a minute. I'm not trying to escape anything, okay? Okay, I understand, but we've already decided to take legal action, I asserted. As I spoke, Jamie's face turned red with anger. Don't joke with me. Why should I be subjected to this by a daughter-in-law like you? How insolent! Just then, the sound of the house key turning was heard. Candice, is Nicholas safe? Miles' voice echoed through the tense atmosphere. Why are you here? I was taken aback. I had only contacted him on WhatsApp. I thought Miles couldn't come since he was on a business trip. I had called him several times in the middle of the night, but then he drove straight here. Miles had been driving since 3:00 a.m. and arrived this morning. I didn't know Miles was coming too. Mom, cut it out. I've been hearing about your harassment from Candy, and I've been warning you every time, haven't I? And now you've gone and hit my precious Nicola. I'll never forgive you for this, Mom, Miles declared sternly. Even you're blaming me? How cruel. After I raised you and Jamie retorted, her voice tinged with indignation. What are you talking about? You always left us with Aunt to play around. Our memories are filled with the meals Aunt cooked, not you, Mom. Just give it up. Besides, I think the doctor already reported it yesterday. The hospital knows Mom hit her, so I think it's just a matter of time before the police come. Bella chimed in, her tone resolute. No, wait. You're okay with your mother being arrested? I'd rather not have someone who hits a 3-month-old baby around. No matter what you say, Mom, you have no one on your side now, Miles countered, his voice unwavering. Jamie finally seemed to understand her situation, her face pale and slumped. Soon, the police arrived, and Jamie was arrested. As a first-time offender, she received a suspended sentence. However, Miles and Ella cut ties with her and issued restraining orders against her. Miles moved out of the in-laws' house with me and Nicola, renting an apartment while looking for a permanent place. We stayed briefly with Lila, which was a great help. Candice, I'm really sorry for everything. I'll take parental leave if I can't get it. I'll change departments or even jobs to ensure Nicholas's safety, Miles promised earnestly. His dedication filled me with hope. His company had some issues with the working environment, and he couldn't get parental leave, so he resigned and found another job. Now he comes home on time, helps with Nicola and the housework. We live in a high-rise near Liz family, often gathering for meals or enjoying barbecues. I don't know what's become of Jamie, but I heard from neighbors that after her arrest, she's become completely isolated and doesn't go out anymore. Prideful Jamie probably can't bear being known as someone who did such terrible things. Well, it doesn't matter to me anymore. She doesn't know where we moved, so there's no chance of meeting her unexpectedly. I plan to live happily, supporting each other as a family with Miles, Nicola,